got Dr. Paul and Anaba, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, here in the studio with us to shed some light on this matter that is being debated. Thank you for coming on this morning. Thank you. Well. We heard Honorable Atonwa give his interpretation of what the National Assembly is doing. But now, we see the words. In fact, let me even ask you, do you think there's anything wrong in law with the amendments being done by the National Assembly to the Electoral Act?
Well, there is no provision in the Constitution empowering INEC to make law. It is the National Assembly that makes laws. And the Electoral Act says that INEC must act in accordance with its powers under the Constitution and under the Electoral Act. The Constitution did not make the same provisions of the Electoral Act. It was the National Assembly that made those provisions. So, INEC must act in accordance with the Constitution and the laws made by the National Assembly.
Why were these moves or these steps not taken before now? Why so close to an election? The
Constitution does not say when the National Assembly will make the laws.
Because the people are saying that this is suspect, that something is going underneath, and there is a grand plan systematically to constitutionally get the president not to contest in 2019, especially when you look at the letter from Obasanjo just recently.
Well, I'm not going to discuss the politics of it. I'm going to talk about the laws as I know them. I may be wrong, but I think that even when I'm wrong, the margin of error will be very low. And I'm saying that irrespective of what political interpretation, we have over 50 political parties in Nigeria. So it is very likely that each political party will have their own interpretation of every piece of legislation leading up to the elections that are very close.
Well, don't you think that this is heating up the polity?
I don't think so. It is just because people have divergent views. What are we talking about? INEC, like I said, came to life by the Constitution and by the Electoral Act. They operate by the Electoral Act. And the Electoral Act that gives INEC the details of what it should do. The Constitution wouldn't be telling the INEC all the things it should do. It is the Electoral Act. That Electoral Act came from the National Assembly. Now, if the National Assembly, these Electoral Acts have continually been amended. If they find in the course of operations that there is a need to amend any part of the Electoral Act, why should remember National Assembly is not a one-man assembly. Put properly, the National Assembly is Nigerians making laws.
Do they have powers to fix the timetable?
Timetable? No. Well, I do not think that in this instance the National Assembly has fixed the timetable.
Okay,
what they have done is to say elections to the presidency should be last. National Assembly,
first.
The House of Assembly is first. And in that order.
Yeah, isn't that tantamount to a timetable?
That is not fixing timetable. Right. That is legislating order of election. They have not said, it becomes fixing when they say, and it shall be held on this day. Now, then you have fixed the date. You are saying, the law is saying, whenever you want to fix INEC, be guided by this law. Okay. The Electoral Act.
Some of the argument out there.
Remember,
for those who are
this is not an oversight comment. It is not a policy. It is amendment of Section 25 of the Electoral Act.
Right, but they also say that because several people looked at it and thought, okay, what happens to this? Isn't it tantamount to them interfering? They argued because INEC already released a timetable in terms of how the conduct will be. And then the National Assembly is coming up with this 2 weeks after that timetable is out. So when the Senate is over, when they conclude theirs, it becomes law. So the concern there is that this is going to alter the order and the conduct, because all the logistics that they will deploy previously will now change. And they think, look, this is tantamount to the timetable.
Now that is not that I don't agree. I mean, everyone has his own views about this. What I will agree to is that it may affect the cost and some of the arrangements INEC will have to make.
That's the organization.
Yes, it may have to affect it. Organization does not amount to law. Remember the point I just made, that what the National Assembly did was to amend the Electoral Act. That's what they did. If what they have done is to say, is to go take an action outside amendment of the Electoral Act, then we will be discussing all these arguments. What they amended is Section 25. Now, who will amend the Electoral Act if it's not the National Assembly? Now, the amendment is not the only amendment they made. Why are we so concerned about that? And at the point this amendment is being made, no political party is being discussed. Nobody has come up to say, I'm running for election. No candidate has emerged. Wouldn't the political parties and INEC now comply with the law and arrange their affairs? They have, one whole year.
What changes if a candidate emerges and they have to alter the constitution?
At that point, the candidate would have emerged having INEC timetable with him.
Does that invalidate the fact that they have powers to make laws?
It doesn't invalidate it. What I'm trying to say is that then such candidate can be said to have been could say he is put in a position of either disadvantage or advantage.
So why can't INEC say they've been put in that position as well, if it's going to affect their cost?
The law, in fact, the Supreme Court mentioned it several times, INEC is an umpire.
Yeah, but
INEC shouldn't be seen to take a position.
I asked that question too.
It's an INEC's duty is, what does the law say? That's what we'll do. If
Talk
the
to
law
us
changes,
about
they change. I expect INEC to say, okay, based on this amendment, if this amendment finally goes through, then this is the implication of what this law is.
Give us your impression about, what I hear some lawyers talk about. They're citing this National Assembly versus the President and others in 2003, where they say that the court ruled that the powers to conduct elections has been donated to INEC by the Constitution and cannot be fettered by the National Assembly.
Well,
is that the case?
This is people will give interpretations of different laws. In this instance, it's not the same as what happened in that particular case you're citing. In this instance, I have...
What's the difference?
Here now, what the National Assembly has done is to say, Section 25 of the Electoral Act, we are amending it. Now, the National Assembly cannot conduct an election. It doesn't amount to conducting an election. It doesn't amount to... So the duties of INEC is just basically three. I mean, in this balance, they are to organize, they are to undertake, and supervise. In organizing an election, does it mean, will you see any grain of the word timetable, fixing timetable in the Constitution?